I'm Vanessa Joy Walker, and I am so excited that you have decided to join me today and watch this video on moving forward after crisis. Whew. You know, when we think of the word crisis, it can feel overwhelming, and sometimes thinking about crisis can feel like, oh, that's not me. Like, I haven't really gone through a crisis, or I haven't gone through what they've gone through. But listen, let's just get it out right now. We have all experienced crisis, and we will all continue to experience crisis as we move throughout our lives. So before we get started, I want to tell you just a little bit about myself. Sometimes I like to describe my life as one of those Monday night mini-series that you might watch on the Lifetime Network. From abandonment as a child to cancer and divorce and remarriage and infertility to all of these life-changing things that have happened to me, there is one thing I know for sure. And that is that there is life after crisis, and that crisis will continue to happen. So learning how to deal with a crisis when it's happening and then move forward from a crisis after it has happened is essential if we are going to thrive and contribute and grow to our fullest capacity. So today I want to share with you a little snapshot of some of the things that I've learned over the years about, how to move forward, how to start this journey forward after you've experienced some sort of disruption in your life. Now, I am not pretending that there's anything prescriptive about life after crisis. So everything that I'm about to describe to you and share with you comes with this caveat, and that is that you got to make it your own. You have to create the life that you want, the joy that you want for this season, because every season is different. So let's get started. When I was thinking about doing this video, I was trying to think of like a framework and a word, and the word that came to my mind was flow. These were the words that popped into my mind: freedom, buoyancy, moving forward, motion, renewal, cleansing. This idea of when something is flowing, it's not stuck. It's not stagnant. No one likes to be stuck. Being stuck isn't fun. So let's break it down. F.L.O.W. So the first tip that I have to moving forward after a crisis is flexibility. The routines and rituals that worked for you prior to crisis are not the routines and rituals that are going to work for you in crisis and after crisis. Here's what I mean. If you're going through chemotherapy, which I have done, your life changes. The way you feel changes. Your appearance changes. Everything about you changes. Our routines and rituals need to be flexible. There is nothing rewarding about rigidity. Let me say that again. There is nothing rewarding about rigidity. When I finally came to terms with the fact that I needed a flexible routine and a flexible schedule, it was so freeing, because I thought in my mind, well, if I can't get up at 5:30 every day and work out every morning between 6 and 7 and work at this time and answer emails at this time and always do X, Y, and Z, then I must be failing. But the truth is that I can plan my day tomorrow, but I may not sleep well tonight. I have to be able to pivot and be flexible with my routines so that I still get what I need and so that I can still contribute. We also have to be flexible with our self-care. Being flexible with our self-care is vital during seasons of suffering and when we're coming out of suffering, because remember, these periods of time have changed who we are. Being flexible with our self-care allows us to meet the needs of today. The other thing that needs to be flexible are our relationships. Relationships ebb and flow. There are certain people that are going to be able to help you during a season of suffering that may not be able to help you during a different season, during a season of growth. There are also people in your life who care about you dearly, who are not going to know how to help you during a season of suffering. And that's okay. Most of us weren't given a guidebook to caregiving. Thinking about your relationships and allowing some flexibility within who you're spending time with and who you're not spending time with is really important. The other thing you have to be flexible with is your traditions. This is a hard one because a lot of us like to do the same thing every Christmas or every Hanukkah or every Thanksgiving. But without flexibility, those moments, those life moments can feel really overwhelming because sometimes suffering or crisis or disruption changes those traditions. A divorce changes the traditions of the past. Cancer changes the traditions. Flexibility is the key to being present and enjoying the moments that you do have. So I want to move on. We got flexibility. And we're going to move on to L, the L of flow, and that is love. I'm just going to say it. It's hard for people to love you when you loathe yourself. It's hard to give and receive love when you're not taking the time to really love yourself. And this isn't easy, especially when you've experienced a failure, a disappointment, a disruption, a loss, a crisis. There have been plenty of times in my life where I have felt like I am not lovable. I am disposable. I felt that way when my ex-husband left me more than once. I felt that way when I got cancer more than once. I felt that way when I was not able to have children. I felt hard to love. And I realized that it was going to be impossible for other people to love me and for me to accept that love if I didn't figure out how to love myself. So one of the things that I learned is the idea of acknowledging what the burden is or what the difficulty is, but not allowing that to be who I am. Cancer is a burden, but I am not a burden. Divorce is a burden, but I'm not a burden. Infertility, that's a burden, but me, I'm not a burden. Job loss, that's a burden, but I'm not a burden. My crisis doesn't make me a burden. That might seem simple, but it is very powerful when you are able to separate yourself from those identifiers. I am worthy of love, just as I am today. So we've got flexibility, we've got love, now we're on to O. That is ownership. Here's the thing. You can acknowledge the feelings, but you've got to own the truth. That's right, acknowledge the feelings and own the truth. Feelings are really important and they're real. When you feel scared, when you feel lonely, when you feel lost, those are real feelings. But feelings are not always facts. And that is something that I have really had to work on, and I still have to work on. And sometimes we can get so caught up in our feelings that we either don't acknowledge the facts or we avoid the facts. So we have to take ownership over the truth. And that means sometimes things are messy. We have to acknowledge and take ownership over the complications in our life. Acknowledging where we are, acknowledging what's happened to us is a really wonderful place to begin a journey of moving forward. When we spend time trying to cover up and pretend that what's happening isn't happening, it's impossible for us to move on because we're so concerned about the past and the future that we're not actually showing up for the present. Okay, thank you so much for sticking with me to the very end of this video. We finally made it to the last portion of the FLOW framework. W stands for wonder. When you think of the word wonder, I wonder what comes to mind. To me, wondering is all about focusing on the opportunities and the possibilities that are to come, as opposed to leaning into the problems that once were, or perhaps the problems that we're still dealing with. I mean, listen, on any given day, we all have a whole bunch of problems, real life problems. And I don't want to minimize what it's like to have a pile of problems in your life. But it's really important for us to lean into the possibilities instead of leaning into the problems. Because when we lean into the problems, we're more likely to also lean into worry instead of giving an opportunity for wonder. Dreaming is essential. It's one of those things that keeps us alive. It's intimately linked to the concept of hope. It's intimately linked to the idea of faith, because dreaming is all about wondering and imagining the things that have yet to happen. One of the most difficult aspects of crisis is all the questioning, all of the why me's and the what ifs that encompass most difficult situations. I mean, it makes sense to say, why me? And the truth is that I don't know why certain things happen. I don't know why some people get cancer and some people don't. I don't know why some people have babies and some people can't. I don't know why some people step into their purpose at a young age and other people are late bloomers. These are things that I don't understand and I don't have the answers to. But what I do know is that the perspective that you have in any given situation can help or hurt how you interact with the world, how you love yourself, how you love others, and how you move forward after a difficult and disrupting time. And so the idea of wondering is really important. This is when we get to challenge ourselves to say, why me? Instead of, why me? Do you see the difference? I don't know why certain things have happened to you in your life, but I can tell you that pain is the foundation for purpose. When you find yourself in a situation where you have to navigate difficult circumstances, you learn an incredible amount of stuff about life, stuff about business, stuff about relationships. I mean, you learn so much by navigating difficult circumstances. And all of that learning, all of that knowledge is equipping you to give back to the world in a rich and wonderful way. So if there's anything that you remember about this video, I hope that when you are faced with a difficult circumstance, that you will start wondering about how this difficult circumstance is going to transform into purpose. Crisis is really hard. Suffering is hard. Grief is difficult. But it's a part of life. And there is nothing inspirational about a life without crisis, because that's not realistic. So here's a quick recap. To flow through and out of crisis, here are the things that you need to remember. Number one, flexibility. Be flexible with yourself and be flexible with others. Be flexible with your routines and your rituals. Allow there to be flexibility in your relationships. Some relationships will flourish during seasons of difficulty and others won't, and that's okay. Be flexible with your traditions. Remind yourself that you are here and now. Make today all that it can be. L, love yourself. Love yourself so that others can love you and you can love others. Remind yourself that you are not a burden. Whatever you're going through might be a burden, but you are not a burden, and you do not need to apologize for your circumstance. Ownership. Own the truth. Acknowledge the feelings. Own the truth. Remind yourself that, listen, life is complicated, and that's okay. Don't spend time trying to uncomplicate the things that are just meant to be complicated. The feelings are real, but the feelings aren't always the facts. Allow yourself an opportunity to evaluate the truth, evaluate the facts, while acknowledging the feelings so that you can make decisions that really serve you during this season of your life. And last, but definitely not least, wonder. Set aside some worry so that you can make room for some wonder. What is going to happen because of this difficult circumstance? Who am I going to encourage? How is this going to help me? What am I learning from this very experience that is going to inform my purpose, that is equipping me to step into my calling? Thank you so much for joining me on this short journey. My hope is that you will walk away from this video feeling a little more hopeful and prepared for whatever is to come.